Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Robert Timmons Show. Today, our guest is Jo-Aynne Von Born, an executive coach, trainer, and speaker. She will help you emerge and engage your inner genius for the authentic success and happiness you want. Welcome to the show, Jo-Aynne.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Where are you located, Jo-Aynne? Where are you calling in from?
South Florida,
South Florida. Whereabouts there?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, beautiful. I lived over there in Coconut Creek for a while, and I was flying out of Fort Lauderdale when I was a flight attendant way back, a few
Oh,
years back
wow.
now. I love Florida. I love that coastline too. I think it's better than the other side, the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Atlantic. Yeah, Florida's a pretty great place to live.
Absolutely, especially if you love the ocean.
Yes.
Well, let's get into this because you have a lot of experience. If we step back a little bit and talk about this 25-year career that you've had, as a business development leader, magazine publisher, entrepreneur, professional actress, and mindfulness expert, to give our listeners, a little bit of insight to what you have experienced in your life.
Sure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. I have a very varied and interesting background, kind of as a reflection of my personality. I really do like to explore the boundaries of my potential. So I never really did limit myself to just one type of career, but I would say that the core of who I am and what I'm good at is that I'm a people person. So I just use that to be able to explore all different kinds of careers and avenues in my life. I actually started out of college. I was a marketing business graduate. That was my degree, but I really wanted to be an actress all of my life when I was a kid. So, but my mom said, "Well, you're going to go to college first." And so, out of school, I did join a conservatory. So I have dramatic training and did become a professional actress. At the same time, I also had to earn some additional income. So I became a hospitality entrepreneur and I ran my own event planning and catering business.
Oh, wow.
So I did that for the first maybe 6, 7 years out of school. And I was successful as an actress. I did a lot of commercials. I have my Screen Actors Guild card. But around the time I got close to my 30s, I really wanted to have something more secure. I was married with kids, so that's when I joined the corporate world. And I started out in magazine advertising, actually, and was there for a few years when eventually I ended up publishing the magazine that I started working at as an advertising exec. And I did that for a number of years and worked for a magazine group that published a whole host of magazines. And that led me to actually, starting in my 20s, I started meditating very early and took a lot of courses. It really became just kind of a way of life for me. And probably mid-career, this magazine group I was working for did publish a yoga magazine. And I actually approached them and said, look, I have a lot of experience with mindfulness and meditation. And of course, I have a lot of experience, in business development. Why don't we put together a business magazine for mindfulness for the corporate world? And so
Interesting.
we did that, and that segued into another job opportunity to actually lead business development. I was VP of sales for an online mindfulness training company. And I did that for a while until I decided to just go back into my own business and become my own coach. But everything
Wow.
built one on each other. But I can say that the thread for me was that I'm a people person. So it really didn't matter what field I was in. I just knew that I could connect with people. So I used that to explore all kinds of things that were interesting to me.
Oh, that's incredible. You definitely have a great track record of, like you say, people person, people businesses, how to develop, how to provide service to the people, and I think that's what business is. And I love the fact that you helped build a business magazine to bring mindfulness to the corporate world, because I think a lot of people leave the corporate world because they lose their mind in a sense,
Yeah,
right? You know,
right.
they start feeling stuck. They start feeling they're going nowhere. They start feeling like their soul is being sucked out of them. But you did it a different way. And how did that go? How did that evolve?
So I think what you said is very true, but I think it's all a matter of perspective. So sometimes you do have to step away from the business world or how you've been normally doing things to get a bigger perspective. But once you do get a bigger perspective, what I find and what I think is the next step is how do you take that and then return? So it's really, I don't want to say it's easy. Step one is maybe to remove yourself, but really the mastery is when you can take that perspective, that calm mind that can see everything and make neutral judgments. If you can take that back into the business world, well, now you're sitting at the top of the leadership pile, right?
Mm,
Because that's what, when you're really good at business, you can handle. I mean, look, stuff's always going to happen. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be things coming at you sideways. And the whole point of mindfulness and meditation, in my estimation, is that you learn to handle that with grace and with steady nerves, right? So I think that's what really caught the eye of the publisher that I was working for at the time, was that, this is really needed. And I needed to make the business case, to top leadership, that if you train your employees in more mindfulness techniques, they'll be able to handle more of the stresses that come along with just, not only the job, but life in general. So it's just a
absolutely.
great skill to have for everybody.
Yeah, because they're both hand in hand. You know, your personal life comes into your business life goes into your personal, and then there's a bunch of noise that you don't know how to even deal with anymore. You don't know where it's stemming from.
Of course. And also you have to think about just what about conflicts in the workplace? I mean, here you are working with a bunch of people that you might not choose to be friends with, let's say, but you need
Mm,
to work with them and everybody has great skills, but you're going to have personality conflicts.
mm.
So to be able to handle that, the personality conflicts plus just the volatility of business itself, when you want to have that kind of a calm mind, the one where you can keep your emotions in check, make rational decisions, it's super important.
Absolutely. No, that's some great information that you just shared there, because I think a lot of people are in that world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you say, like I said, people do leave because of those reasons. But yet, if some of these companies do introduce this, which I do believe there's so many more that need it,
Yeah.
it would help them on their bottom line. It would help them on retraining. Retraining's a
Yes.
big amount of money in a company. You know, the
Yes.
bigger it is, the more they have to train, the more you want to try and keep people longer than 5 years, instead of having them, like an open door coming and going every 3 years.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this kind of everything that you've done builds up to where we're going. And that's, you know, I want you to tell our listeners about this inner genius, because I love the words, inner genius, because I've heard inner critic, which is totally
Yeah.
opposite. I like that you've taken it onto the positive way. And I think what you've done, what you've just explained to us, I really think it moves into these two words so well.
Well, thank you. Yes, I think, for me, the way I look at people, the way I look at myself and other people, I firmly believe we all have an inner genius. So, yes, I think a lot of us have been conditioned to believe that there's an inner critic, which we all have an inner critic, but I don't know why we focus so much time on that inner critic. I'd rather tap into the inner genius. And so, what I mean by that is that we all have a very unique combination of our character, our experience and our skills and our values. So when you put all of those together, it's very unique for each one of us. And I think enough of us don't champion that. Like, wow, look at what I am. These are the things that are important to me. These are the character strengths that I have. This is the experience and the skills that I have. So many times, especially when I work with clients, they want to tell me all the things they don't have. And I say, I am all for growth and development. That's my thing. It's my passion. But before we get into what you need to grow and develop, let's really cherish and harness what you already are. And so I think that's a big game changer for people, is to say, okay, growth and development is great, and we're going to do that. But first, let's really fall in love and cherish and utilize what you have already to the max. So that's what I mean when I say inner genius. Let's work from a foundation of strength, not weaknesses or what you need to develop.
Absolutely. And there's so much lack out there. The mindsets, I grew up in a bad area. My mom, struggled, 4 jobs, 3 children, by herself. And it's tough when you're that much, when a lot of your life is 90% that,
Yes.
struggle and challenges, and no one's there to really help you, just, hey, look at it this way, look at it this way. Because like you say, perception is a lot of it. And when you
Well, our
change that perception, holy crap, everything, the world changes, and you start going, wow, it's almost like you're stepping outside yourself and looking at things around you and saying, yeah, let's look at it the way this person's saying it and see what happens from there. But you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. I mean, our perceptions are our reality. So reality is whatever you perceive it to be. So on the one side, that's kind of a downer because of the way I'm seeing things is going to influence what I believe. But on the other hand, when you know that it's just your perception, it's like, wow, if I just move over here and see it from this angle, I could have a whole different life. So I really resonate with what you said about a single mom. I was raised by a single mom. I was a single mom. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it is difficult when you don't have a partner to balance out maybe, or to give you that kind of support. But on the flip side, because I didn't have that and my mom didn't have that, we had to dig deep, right? We had to find that strength either within us, or we had to go find mentors, or strike up a friendship with somebody who was succeeding at what we wanted. And so, we had to be proactive. So
Yeah,
I always
resourceful.
yeah, I always look at what I didn't have in life, or what somebody doesn't have in life, as an opportunity to be proactive and go get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's skills that it'd be nice if we seen a little bit of that in our educational area,
Mm.
just to give people that openness. Because I ended up going to college, took a while to get there, but I got to college, very, very like 1% out of my neighborhood, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But
Congratulations.
what I felt I learned there was common sense. That's what I
Mm.
felt I learned. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, they're teaching me stuff that I should know. That was kind of the thought I got. But that allowed me to go further because it was a stepping stone, and it wasn't really the college, course that I took. It was just that I took it. So I found that it was different. It was like it showed that I was determined, I was disciplined in the sense, and that because when you get into an employer, then they train you and they teach you.
Right,
But
right.
resourcefulness, absolutely. It's something I think we all need, and not
That's a
everybody gets it because we're all put in different stages of life.
Right. And resourcefulness is such a great word. And for me, it describes all the people I know and that I've worked with that have succeeded. It was not because they were so well educated or so smart from the get-go, but they were resourceful. I think of leaders that I work with, it's not that they have all the answers, it's that they're very honest and they say, you know what, I don't know, but I can figure it out.
Hmm.
And I think that ability to be able to say, I don't know, but I'll figure it out, that confidence is what you need. And if you tap into your inner genius, you'll already have a well of experience, skills, so on and so forth, that can help you realize that you don't have to know everything. But the minute you're in a situation where you think you're above all, in above your head, you have the resourcefulness to say, I can figure it out. If I don't know
Hmm.
it, I'll go find out. So I think that one skill, if we could teach young people to be resourceful, it would serve them so well throughout their whole life.
Oh, absolutely. I know things have changed with technology and stuff. I see the difference from when I grew up. When I grew up, it was more like lights come on, you got to get in the house.
Yeah.
Street lights are on, you got to get in the house. Now it's like, hey, the sun's out, get out of the house, right?
Right, right, right.
Big difference, from then to now. But if we, if I want to think about, you talked about meditation,
Mhm.
I am such an advocate for meditation because I've been doing it for months and months now, and it's like I have to do it before I even do anything. I really
Yes.
do. I feel I'm lost if I don't, because I feel I've gave myself a disservice not tapping into the direction I want to go, the things I want to
Yeah.
feel, the gratitude I want to experience, for what I have now. How does that play into your inner genius? Because the way I see it is like tapping into the universe that's, plugged into us pretty much, that a lot of people aren't aware of or don't see it in that manner.
Right. Well, so meditation gives you that opportunity to be with yourself. So most of our lives and most of the day, we're outer focused, which is normal, right? You have activities you have to do, you have to work with other people. So you're outer focused. And that's what needs to be. That's how we live our lives. But if you don't balance that out with some quiet time when you're inner focus, you can get lost in the outer world. Look, people want you to be a certain way. Things are pulling you in every direction. That's just the way life is. So I think it's really important to have a little bit of time every day to be inner focused, to balance yourself, to actually give yourself a moment to say, well, what do I really want? What's really important for me today? Right? The world is going to pull you in a million directions. There's so many shiny objects out there and distractions that want your attention, the way the world is. So you would do yourself a really big service if you would give yourself, it doesn't even take a long time, 10 minutes. 10 minutes to just be with yourself quietly, focus on your breath. You'll see all the thoughts swirling around in your head, and you don't have to make a decision or chase anything. You just want to see what's there. And in the witnessing of what's there, some things will bubble up as important, other things will just go away as not important. But you just need to give yourself the space to let that happen.
Oh, absolutely. And my background's art. I'm an artist, and I find meditation to be an area of creation.
Oh, yes.
It's where imagination comes in, and you can do anything. As an artist, I can paint anything I want. I could put someone on the top of a mountain if I wanted to, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is what meditation's all about. It's that imagination, that visualization, that seeing the end in mind. And like for your day, if, like you say, the when you take off into that outer world, you can have control of that outer world if you meditate in the morning. You can literally know what your day is, and you can start planning how you're going to feel in those moments, how you're going to do it. And I think that's what I really become addicted to when it
Yes.
comes to meditation, because, like yourself, I learn from people who do it, and I take on little bits of that action, and I implement it into my life and test it. And if I love it, I actually, it's life.
I always think when I think about meditation, I always share with people that if you can give yourself just 10 minutes in the morning of what it feels like to be in touch with yourself, in touch with what you want to accomplish today, or what you want for your life, or how you want to feel, whatever you use that 10 minutes for, what it becomes for the rest of the day, it's like a little reference point. So as you're going through your day and you start getting pulled in a million different directions, or you feel yourself, your emotions running high, you now have a reference point. You're like, wait a second. This morning, I had a 10-minute experience of what it feels like to be in charge. And now I'm feeling really out of control. Just having that stark comparison between the meditation and being with yourself and then being sort of run by the outside world is enough to stop you in your tracks and go, okay, hold on. I just need to take a breath here. This isn't working for me, right? If we could just pause like that, so many times throughout the day, we would make better decisions. We
Mm.
would say no when we, really said yes and didn't mean it. So I love to use that 10 minutes in the morning. I call it, for me, it's my reference point of how I want to be.
I love that. And
When I veer too much off track, it becomes very obvious to me. I don't need a timer or a bell or anything to tell me, come back to yourself, Jo-Aynne. I already gave myself that gift in the morning.
I love that. I love that reference point, because when you're touching base to that reference point, what you're doing also is training your mind to think
Yes.
that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're taking control. You're not being on autopilot, which a lot of us do.
Right.
We run our days on autopilot, and we have to deal with the challenges that come towards us, instead of, in your case, you've created a reference and you're like, wait a second, this is going off what I just did. Let's get back
Yes.
on track. I love that. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. That's
Oh,
brilliant.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
So how do you help people take ownership of their extraordinary self while gaining the clarity, the confidence, the calm to create their version of success and happiness?
So for me, every person's extraordinary self is their inner genius. So this is, again, helping them tap into what they're strong at, what their foundation should be in, what am I good at? And a lot of people I notice don't really appreciate what they're good at. You know, they're looking at some other people and saying, oh, that's what it means to be successful. So, you know, one of the first things that I help people do is first define what success and happiness means to you. If you're chasing other people's ideas, even if you attain them, they're not going to be satisfying, right? Because it was somebody else's idea. So you want to figure out what makes you happy, and that usually follows being successful. So what does being successful mean to you? You know, for some people it's just raising a family, for another person it's creating a business, for some person it's drawing an amazing painting, let's say, right? So you have to find out what's authentic for you, what would make you feel successful. And successful is that feeling of I'm accomplishing what makes me feel great. I love doing this. Doesn't mean you don't have some problems along the way and some things that aren't working right. This isn't about living life, you know, on high every day. But it means in the overall picture, you love what you're doing, right? So that even when you have to do those tasks that you don't like so much, it's like it's in the service of a greater good. So that gives you the energy to keep going. So when you tap into your inner genius, which is also your extraordinary self, and again, the way I talk about this is, again, it comes from this place is that I see too many people, even people that are really highly educated, people that are in high positions, they still don't think it's enough, that they're enough, right? They're still looking at themselves from a place of lack. So the old school way to think about that was, well, it's good to come from lack because that'll make you work harder. And I totally disagree, because I think when you're working from lack, you never get satisfied.
Right.
So that's why so many people get burned out, right? It's never feels good enough. So I think that working from lack is like a short-term solution, is kind of the old way of seeing things. I think when you come from a place of abundance, like I have all these strengths, experience, my character is strong in these ways, and you bring that to every challenge that you face, wow, you'll just roll right over it, right? There's a lot of confidence there. And so I think that you approach situations with a lot more energy and enthusiasm, creativity, because you're coming from a place of, I can do this.
Hmm.
I may not know right now, but again, here's that resourcefulness. There's a lot of stuff in me. So I'll tap into this or that or the other, or if I need help, I'll go find it. But you're coming from a can-do place. And I think that is a sustainable solution for long-term success, when you're coming from can-do rather than I don't have, so I have to go get to prove that I can. It's kind of backwards, actually.
I think a lot of us are backwards. The more you learn, you realize, wait a second, why are we in reverse here?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Lack definitely brings up the challenges, brings up a lot of bad things, depression,
yeah,
anxiety, worry. That's lack. And yeah, if you're trying to grow from lack, well, your vibration's not in the right line,
right.
because the other side, like you say, abundance, happy, positive, optimism, that's creation. And that's exactly, like, I agree with you. I haven't heard it that way. And, but I do agree with you that as an artist, I love being in creation. So
Mm,
understanding how to fill my pot first in order to give to others, I need to be creative. I need to be in that zone, and abundance. like we get back to meditation. Meditation has allowed me to get into that zone right at the beginning. The first hour to 2 hours of my day are spent in thinking about everything that I am gratitude about, grateful for.
You
Grateful,
know,
forgiveness, compassion, all that stuff.
yeah,
It's just it's it's weird from where I grew up, because there you had to be in survival all the time.
yes.
So reversing that, being a male as well, it's not an easy thing. But then when you realize you're just here for you, in a sense, and if I can create a good within me, then I can help others and pull them up, and build them up into something great that they are.
Exactly. I mean, you have to demonstrate. When you demonstrate what you are, you're already a leader for somebody else. You're already a role model. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to help other people," and I love that. I think that's great. But the first step in helping other people is be that role model. Like, do it in your own life first, and you'll just be a walking example.
Hmm.
So people who like what you're doing, they'll say, "Hey, how do you do that?" So you don't
Absolutely.
even have to go out and find people to help, but you have to be that living example first. And I also want to say, Robert, one thing, I love that you're an artist, because I think people think of being an artist as just kind of like a specialized thing, but I think we're all artists of our own
Hmm.
lives. We're always creating in every moment by the thoughts that we're thinking, the way we treat other people, the way we handle situations. We're creating. We're creating the next moment based on what we're doing now. So a lot of people say, "Well, I'm not creative, I'm not an artist." And I say, "But you are."
Hmm.
Every moment, every word you speak, every breath, every thought you have is a brushstroke, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to look, I mean, you don't have to look at it that way, but if you do, you're being very mindful now. Like, how I'm talking to this person, how I'm resolving this situation. What am I painting in my life? What am I creating? That right there can make you pull back and go, whoa, maybe I don't need to be so agitated. What am I creating here? So I love the artist for everybody metaphor. I think it's really true for our lives.
Absolutely. And I found that as I kept, practicing my skills, I realized, and then of course the meditation, I keep bringing up meditation because I really think that our listeners need to actually implement that or test it and see how it is. But that is the created area. When you realize that when you fulfill the inner, like the inner genius, the inner genius comes out,
Exactly.
like in what you're talking about, that comes out, and that's your creative, that's your art. That's becomes who you are and what you want. When
Yes.
you start realizing that your mother's not the one telling you how to live your life, right? Like, you
Mm,
literally do this, or your friend or your boyfriend, your husband, whatever they're saying to you isn't what you should be saying to yourself,
right.
right? If it's negative, if it's positive, fabulous, then you get a
Yeah.
great, partner or connector, or whatever it is. But I think a lot of us don't have that. We don't have that person to help us, to bring that out. Like they say, the president, for an example, always has a strong woman behind them. It's
Yeah.
because that woman is probably more powerful than the president, to be honest with you. They're the ones
Mhm.
picking him up. They're the ones telling him, "You're doing great, do this, try that, hey, look this, put this tie on." That's all makes that person confident, right?
No, yeah, I agree with you. And I think you can even make it broader. I think we all need a support network of people. So whether if it's your partner or if you're a single person, friends, but it is up to us. It's incumbent on us. And again, here we go about creating your environment. If we're in an environment where we're not being supported, it's nobody else's responsibility but our own to create an environment that's supportive. So I'm
Hmm.
not saying ditch your friends and family. I'm saying whatever your situation is, it is. But
Right.
you can add to that. You can add people who are supportive of you. You can go and find them. It's too many people I find just kind of give up so easy. Well, my family's not that way and I didn't come from that. Well, okay. We're all dealt a bunch of cards, but it doesn't stop you from going out and finding the support. And so I think if you don't have a partner who's supportive, you don't need to do anything about that. I'm not saying leave your partner, but you can find friends, family, whatever, a counselor, a coach, whatever it is. You can find people to support you. And once you start having a little bit of that support, trust me, you're not going to stand for having people that knock you down anymore. So again, it all begins with us. We have to start. It's our responsibility to make our environment a supportive, healthy one. You know, you do that
Absolutely.
one step at a time, but the people you have in your life are super important.
Hmm.
And I know for people that work in toxic environments, because I deal with this a lot with my clients, the culture's not good, so on and so forth. If moving to another position or another job company where the culture is better, which doesn't always work, by the way, um, you owe it to yourself to right where you are, start right where you are. Usually, if you're open-minded enough, you'll find one other person in your work environment that you can connect with that will support you. And if two people are supporting another, there's chances are a third person is going to come along that would want that same kind of support. So I really firmly believe you can create the support wherever you are. It's not always about changing environments, although that is an option. But I think it's a better practice to start right where you are.
Mm. That kind of, for some reason, brought up the RAS, reticular activating system,
Hmm.
where, what you think of, you filter in.
Right.
So if you're thinking of no one around here likes me, no one, you're going to get a lot of that evidence.
Right.
But if you start thinking the way you were talking, where you think, well, someone else may be here that relates to me and understands me, and I can understand them. And next thing you know, that's going to be brought to your attention,
Right. Of
through word,
course.
through conversation, through someone else mentioning it. And next thing you know it, you're building that network of
Yes.
people that can support each other. Very cool. We're having a great conversation here. I love it. What do you have for 3 tips that our listeners can take action with today to engage their inner genius?
Well, I think it's really just the same things when I work on with my clients. You need to have some self-reflection time. That's always very important. And you have to dig into 3 areas. First, about your character. So, what is it about your character that's positive? So again, we're all not great at everything, but some people are just supportive people naturally. Some people are very creative. Some people have really great social intelligence. You just need some time. I always love a journal because I think when you write it down, things get clearer. Just write down what are your strengths. And when I mean about strengths, I mean character strengths. So what is it about you that you have total confidence in? Like, yeah, all my life I've always been XYZ. So get those character strengths down, which things that you have super confidence in. And then the second thing you want to do to kind of, get a handle on your inner genius is to figure out what are your values, what's important to you. So different things are important to different people. Now, values can be family, success, money, but they can also be character strengths like creativity or being supportive or personable. So I don't want you to think that they're just separate buckets. They could bleed over, but really, number one, find out what you're strong at, what you're good at, you have confidence in. Second thing is what's important to you. And then the third thing that I would say is take a look at your skills and experience. So I'm a perfect example of a person who took her skills, being very personable, people person. I mean, that's why I loved acting and I studied drama, was I just love the dynamics between people. But that's a skill. I can read a room really easy. I can see what's going on. So at a meeting, if things are going sideways, I know how to pull it together. So that's just something I can do. Now, if I explain that to someone who was trying to hire me, that I learned that from my acting training, they probably go, no, not sure about her. And the fact is, I just need to have that confidence. I
Mm.
don't need to explain it to anybody. I just need to know that I know how to work with people. So you look back on your skills and experience, and instead of saying, well, I didn't do enough of that or whatever, find out what you did do. If you worked in customer service and you were great at it, well, that's a skill. I know how to work with people. If you were great at fixing things, you could, any machine that came along, you could just figure it out. So you're technically oriented. Have pride and appreciate the skills that you have and the experience that you've had that have honed those skills. So if you put those 3 things together, that really forms the bedrock of your inner genius. And so now, when you're very cognizant of that, when you go to a job interview, when you're working with groups of people, that is going to how you're going to present yourself. That's the approach you're going to have, right? And you're going to have such confidence about it that people are going to see the value that you bring to the table. And once you can do that, then you're way ahead of the game.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Those are great, great points to help anyone to move forward. Because I really think, when you find out who you are, you can definitely build on that. That's your foundation. We're not lost anymore. We know where we're at. And now we can build from there and see what connects that we'll enjoy even more. Instead of just saying, okay, this one makes a lot of money, let's go there.
Right.
I've been directed in that way when I was in high school, and I'm like, okay, that's not where I want to go. I'm not
Yeah.
following the money. I'm following something that I want to do and enjoy. Right. No, these are great. I appreciate that. So what social channels can our listeners find you on?
Well, I think I'm almost on everything. I've
Oh,
got a
great.
LinkedIn page. I'm on Twitter, Instagram.
What are your
So,
handles?
so on, let's see, on Twitter, it's at Ready, Set, More. That's my company name. And on Instagram and LinkedIn is Jo-Aynne Von Born.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Jo-Aynne, I want to tell you how much I appreciate the conversation that we just had to engage our listeners to become better in their own lives, to take
Yeah.
the tools and tips that you've talked about. And really, I hope, you implement those tools and tips so you can really see, will they help you? Not everything works for everybody, but if you learn to implement things that are working for others, then you can see if they do work for your life. And, remember to follow the Robert Timmons Show. Every Thursday, we have a great guest like Jo-Aynne come on and share some amazing value to hopefully pick your life up to the next level that you want to be at. And thank you, Jo-Aynne, for joining us today.
Thank you, Robert. It was my pleasure.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you like more, click the videos right here. They're exactly what you need to see next. If you're new here, hit subscribe and become part of the community and tell me what you think about the videos in the comments below. I read all of them every week, and join my Mind Power Mastery group by hitting the link in the description.